Computer. All right, we're recording. Okay. This recording, in case anybody wants to look at it who wasn't on. Okay, so I'm Stephanie. I know all of you except Jen. I'm glad I finally met you. I've heard about you. So what I wanted to do first was show you guys some pictures from the new directors conference, because April, have you told Jen anything about that? You can just shake your head if you want.
Only not much. I don't think I have much, Jen.
Okay.
I told you there was one, but yeah.
Okay. So I was able to earn a trip with Shaklee to the new directors conference. April's already been on it. So that's kind of where I got my, I don't know what you want to call it, kind of like my drive to start to do some training online, because a lot of people are doing it, and I feel like we can cover a lot of basics as far as just sharing Shaklee and like personal development and helping coach one another, helping me coach you. And so some of these ideas I got from good reminders at the New Directors Conference. And yeah, so New Directors Conference, in case you aren't familiar with all the details, in order to qualify for it, you have to be a director, which is the very first business rank in Shaklee. You have a year to earn it, and you have to hit so much PV, which is that point value that is associated with every product. You have to hit a certain amount of PV for 6 months consecutively, and then you earn the trip. Well, my goal when I hit director was I really wanted to try and hit it like 6 months, be done, just because I can be a little type A. And I was able to do that, but it's not necessary. There were people there. I have a few friends I've become friends with, like virtual friends on Facebook, who we finally got to hang out in person, who they've been working at it for a while. It just kind of ebbs and flows, obviously. But I wanted to share just a few. Let's see if this will work. Oh, I don't know what that means. I wanted to share a few. Can you guys see that? You can, okay. A few pictures from it in no particular theme. I have like hundreds, but I just picked a few. So, so what this was Shaklee paid for Derek and I both to go. So the key is you have to have you and your spouse on your distributorship if eventually this is one of your goals and you want to go, and you can always add someone to the distributorship. So Derek and I got our flights paid for, we had our hotel paid for, we had everything paid for from the moment we got into California. And then we actually extended our trip for about 4 days. So obviously we paid for that part, but Shaklee did pay for our flight home. So it was a great way for us to explore a part of the country we've never been. We've never been to San Francisco. I was there when I was I think 3, when my parents went to something similar that Shaklee had back in the 70s. They actually got to sit with Dr. Shaklee himself at a table, which is really cool to listen to my parents tell that story. But yeah, so that was just one of our little centerpieces. This was when we got there, because once you travel with Shaklee, they do it right from the beginning. So we had our little limo driver waiting with our names, which was kind of fun. And then we had our limo, which we were not expecting, for about 4 of us, which is a nice way to have an hour ride from the airport to Pleasanton, which is where Shaklee headquarters are. And then, yeah, we kind of explored a little bit. We had some free time. So this is Shaklee headquarters. Not really what I expected. I don't know what I expected. I don't know if I expected some like big, humongous, like, I am Shaklee, hear me roar. But it's a really cool building. It's just kind of nestled in this like business district of Pleasanton. And so we walked there from the hotel and just kind of looked at it. This was a picture from the lunch that they had for us a few days after. Like I said, I just kind of threw these together about 5 minutes ago. They had the table shaped like the Shaklee leaf, which was just kind of fun. But that's a picture from one of their terraces looking down into this green area, which Roger Barnett, the president, or the CEO and owner, said that like once a week they have soccer games out there, which I thought was really cool, where like all of the employees go out, including him, like the big kahuna, and they just play soccer, which I don't know, to hear of a massive corporation like that does that with their boss is pretty cool. So this was the Olympians. We had a little reception with the Olympians the first night. She has a goal, I forget her name, but she is pregnant right now using Shaklee as her prenatals, and she won a gold in water polo. He is from the Mexican pentathlon team, and he actually has a bronze, and he actually gave his bronze medal to Heather, the president of Shaklee, at our conference, which was really cool. He said he feels like he owes so much to Shaklee with just how he's been able to be fueled for the Olympics. And just a quick fact that this is Eli Bremer. He's the captain of our Pure Performance Olympic team. He was sharing some stuff that I thought was pretty mind-blowing. He was saying how 80% of the supplements on the market contain contaminants, and with their really strict testing that they have, they usually don't get any advance notice. And so he actually said he was surprised no one had knocked on any of their hotel doors when they were at this conference, because he said that is like how sporadic it is when they get tested, drug tests. And he said that when he goes around and he talks to all these Olympians, like trying to share Shaklee and trying to see if any of these Olympians are interested in kind of being fueled by Shaklee. Because Shaklee doesn't pay them money, but Shaklee provides them with the products. And he said he actually talked to the head of nutrition for the United States Olympic team. And the head of the nutrition said that his quote was, "If I could put every Olympic athlete on Shaklee because of their purity, I would do it." But he unfortunately can't kind of command and tell the Olympians what to do. But I thought that was pretty awesome that the head of nutrition for the U.S. Olympic team actually said that. So yeah, that's just a few little facts that I had that I thought were pretty awesome. So this is Roger Barnett, our CEO, and this is my friend Jen. We actually met backstage at the global conference last year, and we just had to get our little picture there. This is Les Wong. He actually goes back to my dad's time when my dad was really involved with the product development. He is has been there for 30 some years. He is one of the science guys who works a ton with sports nutrition. This was just a view when they do a little walk. You walk the green carpet into Shaklee headquarters at the new directors conference, and they announce you, like you walk from the hotel to Shaklee headquarters with these Shaklee flags, which has to look kind of crazy from the street, but it's really, really fun. And they play all this fun music, and then they announce you, and you walk in, and it's really, they really try and make you feel really special. This is just a random picture from the Shaklee terrace, just kind of looking over the green area. And these are just some pictures I took inside. These were some of the vitalizers that they had left over. Captain Mark Kelly had left over from the space, from when he was up in space on the Discovery. And then these are just some covers of some of the magazines they have, some of the big kind of world history events that Shaklee fueled. And then that was Dr. Shaklee's desk and his chair and some of his actual items that he owned. And so you get to just kind of sit there. This is all when you walk into the Shaklee headquarters, which is really cool. And then here's just a picture, our night at the vineyard. They bus you out to a vineyard and they kind of wine and dine you. So just a few pictures from that. And there's Dr. Shaklee. Got to get pictures of Dr. Shaklee. And that's Dr. Daggy, who Aaron was able to listen to speak at the conference we had in Ohio last year. And this is at the Innovation Center, which is where all of the purity testing and all of the product innovation happens. And it's not like we couldn't, this is as far right here as we could go as far as taking pictures. These are just some of the patents that they have on the wall. But after this part, we couldn't take any pictures because it was all these science labs. But it was really cool to see just like all of these lab techs and science guys, just with all those machines and just seeing the science and the purity testing and everything happening right there was really exciting. So that was cool. This was something they had us do the last day. It's kind of blurry, but we all had a tile, and we had to write on there why Shaklee for us. So after my type A was sitting there like, what am I going to write? What am I going to write? This is permanent, because they end up putting all these together and they're going to take it to global conference and they put it on this big wall. So I just kind of put like my core is to leave a family legacy. And then I had, you know, to help with changing folks in their health path, their family path. I want to be able to travel, have lifestyle changes. I want to be able to play. And I would just want to be a facilitator of change. So that was a fun little activity. Brought me back to my childhood. This is a picture of Roger Barnett's office, which he actually has his son's name on the door, and his son is Spencer, because his plan is to pass the Shaklee business down to his son, which I think is a pretty cool kind of statement to have your son's name plastered on your office. So this was cool because the headquarters were not what I expected. I expected Roger to kind of have like this closed off office and Heather to have this closed off office, but Heather has like a cubicle right in the middle of everyone else. And then Roger is the only one with a big office, but he also has all these big tables, but it's all these glass doors. So while he has a big curtain, when he's having like private meetings, any other time folks can just walk by and like wave. And it's just very much like a family feeling, which is kind of pretty cool. When you think about a big corporation, you don't think about that. And this is just a random picture of all the gifts we got while we were there. It's fun, and I can remember this from my childhood. Jen, I grew up like April. I was a Shaklee kid. So we were very, very blessed and very, I don't know what the word is. We were able to travel with our parents a lot, and we'd always get these little gifts. Well, they still do it to this day. So Derek and I, our big thing was, what are we going to have on our bed when we get into the room tonight? So these are just little things they gave us. Those bowls, actually, we all ate with the lunch that we had at Shaklee headquarters, which was from that picture I showed you. And we all were talking about how we wish we could like swipe these bowls. And then the last night, there they were on our bed. So we were very excited. Yeah, so just little fun things. And then we had a limo ride back to back into the city when we were done. And then I just threw on here, you know, pictures that we were able to do outside of the conference time because of Shaklee sending us to San Francisco. So we were able to go see Alcatraz, another really cool picture of Alcatraz. We did a hike along the Pacific shore, and so we could literally see just ocean and the Golden Gate Bridge from a view that I had never really imagined seeing before. We have a friend there. We visited her, and this is from her office. So, of course, the trolley. Can't go to San Francisco without the iconic trolley photo or cable car. We ate good, yummy food. Yeah, so again, just a real short kind of blurb on hi, April, there you are. Now, I didn't see you that whole time. Now I see you. So yeah, so that was just like my new directors conference in a nutshell. But really what happens there is we have business training from business leaders, from corporate, and they kind of do a combination of like business training and play. So what I wanted to do now was just share what kind of like some tips that I got from this. What I've come to realize more and more is that it always goes back to the basics with Shaklee. And April and I are always talking about, you know, our personal struggles with building our businesses, or things that go great and things that we want to work on. And it seems like I sat here and reviewed these notes, and I realized it comes down to the basics and spending time working on refining the basics, and then just really kind of buckling down and taking the time that you need to get your process set. The one big theme that I left with was it's a process, and you have to trust the process, and you have to follow the process, because my personality is I like to go from point A to point C to point X to point Y, because I just go like this all the time. And it's kind of like slow and steady wins the race. And it isn't necessarily instant gratification all the time, but it's getting that process refined so that getting to your end point is a smoother ride. So with that in mind, I want to see what time it is so I'm not totally blabbing. Okay, good. So one fun fact that I thought I'd start with, and I've heard this before, is that it takes 30 hours to gain a skill and 10,000 hours to master a skill. So I wrote that down because I thought it was a good reminder to me on the days that there's so many webinars and there's so many Shaklee tools and there's so many Shaklee resources that sometimes I can get overwhelmed with where to start. And when I hear that, I realize I just have to start and I just have to focus on one thing and go. So if Shaklee University is something that you haven't been able to do yet, I would strongly recommend, starting to do that. And that's something that I want to actually, I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing over again, but like I plan to review some of the modules that I haven't reviewed in a while. They gave some really good book recommendations that I'm not going to get into tonight, but I will another time, that are they're really quick reads just on like personal development. Actually, I know one offhand, it's called Go for the No. And it's all about being comfortable with hearing no, just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, hearing no than hearing yes. So I actually have that book and I need to finish it. And just realizing again that it's all about the process. So if it takes 30 hours just to gain a skill, no matter what that skill is, it's still 30 hours that we have to commit to. So it was just a very good practical reminder for me. So I had mentioned, and April, if you want to unmute yourself for this, because I want to hear what you've said too. So one of the things I wanted to go over is I've heard a lot, and even I struggle with this sometimes, is when someone asks us, well, what is Shaklee? Like, what is Shaklee? What is Shaklee? First it's getting the pronunciation right. And so they actually reviewed this at the conference, which again reminded me, here we are, people who had earned this trip, who obviously have been sharing with people what is Shaklee, but it was a good reminder that we always can refine how we answer that question. So something that Heather Chastain, our president of US and Canada, had mentioned was picking two, and this would be different for everybody, but picking two facts that you're most passionate about as far as Shaklee, and keeping those your focus to that answer of that question. So something I had been saying as far as what is Shaklee, and I think April and I think we both kind of did this because we got this from Last Global. I forget, what's her name? She's senior director, massage therapist. I forget her name. She's in your group. She's in your mom's group, I think. She had shared with us.
Yes.
Okay. You remember her?
Yes.
Okay. So something she shared with us last year is when someone asked her what is Shaklee, her go-to phrase is Shaklee is the oldest and most scientifically proven health and wellness company in the United States. And then she stops there. Something Heather Chastain said was another way to answer it would be, Shaklee is the company I partner with as a vehicle to leaving a legacy of health for my family. Someone else had said something at the conference of Shaklee is a company that I partner with that has 5 major product categories that I believe in. Now, I don't know, like I probably wouldn't use the last one because I feel like for me, it just is probably not what would sound natural coming out of my mouth. So when Heather said to pick 2 facts I'm most passionate about, for me, I sat and I thought, well, I'm most passionate about the Shaklee difference. So how we don't look at like external purity standards. We look at our purity and quality standards, which are beyond a lot of those external kind of big pharma umbrella companies. I love how we have all the 120 studies in our Beyond Organic philosophy. And then I'm also really passionate about our history. So, which kind of then goes back to what I've been saying, how we're the oldest and most scientifically proven company in the US. So Heather, there's not even a Heather in here unless Heather Chastain's logged on. April, what do you say typically when someone asks?
I don't think I have. I don't have a set answer that I tell everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And oftentimes it depends who's asking and
Right.
what venue I'm in, I guess you could say. Because
Yeah.
if I'm just talking to another mom that I met, it might be, I don't know, sometimes it tends to be a different answer, even though it's the same, but put differently than if I'm at like a networking group with a bunch of business people, I guess. Because if I'm at like a networking group, it's more like, and you go around, you give your 2-minute commercial, oftentimes I'll say, I own my own Shaklee business, which is Shaklee is a health and wellness company that's actually, and a lot of times I'll say, I've been in business for over 60 years, because once they figure out maybe you're in like a direct sales business, I need to know it's a 60-year-old company,
right?
Because there's so many that pop up and have been popping up lately.
Yeah.
So I'll say that, and I'll often say, it's a company that prides itself on the purity of their products. And we have a wide range of health and wellness products, from green cleaning products to nutritional supplements that are all heavily backed by science. And then I always say, it's a company that I grew up with, that my grandfather started this business, and then my mother jumped in as a registered nurse because she wanted to stay at home with my brother and I. And now I do this business because I love the company and I love the products, and it allows me the opportunity to stay at home with my boys and still earn an income. So kind of and a lot of times I'll hit more on that side of things. Again, depending if I'm talking to a mom who I know, has a friend in one of my kids' classes, and maybe I know that their kids got health problems or something like that too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, and I didn't even say, and I sit here and I think about, and that's probably exactly what I do, because I've actually had a lot of new members come from my small group at church. Mm-hmm. And it's almost been like the less is more approach with my group of friends there. Because like I had one friend who months ago, when we just were starting to like become more friends than just acquaintances, she asked me what I did. And I think you and I talk about this sometimes like I forget, or it's like an insecurity, because I think the world is flooded with direct sales network marketing, that as soon as I say Shaklee, people are like, no, not another thing. So I always say, I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm, home with my kids, and I do photography on the side. And then I mentioned Shaklee. Mm-hmm. So, so with my friend, I said, I have my own Shaklee business. Oh, what's Shaklee? And I said, it's a health and wellness company that has been around for like 60 years. And my parents have been involved in it. And I decided to take the leap a few years ago. And then I just stopped there. Yeah. And then, I did that with a couple of my friends. And it's funny, I now have 3 or 4 members from my small group at church. And, but I think that, what you said was great, because I think you just cater it to who you're talking to. Because like Joan, you work with a lot of nurses, and then Aaron obviously is with like a lot of educators and therapists. And I think it is just in Jen, I don't know Jen, what do you do? I know you just.
You want to unmute yourself, Jen, or you want me to tell her? Unmute yourself.
You can tell her. I don't know what I do now.
You do too. What is your degree in?
I have a degree in exercise physiology and nutrition.
Oh, awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like everyone has little groups of people that they're around that are probably, and whether or not you're like working in the field now, it's still.
Right. I'm meeting moms on the street corner like April and I did originally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. So I think it probably comes down to like just being comfortable in your approach and just being honest. And I think that's what I sit sometimes and I think about the difference when I talk to some Shaklee people versus other friends who might be involved in some other like, I don't even know if you'd want to call them health and wellness companies, but like they're selling shakes or they're selling some sort of supplement. And I feel like the difference is it's like a sales pitch versus like a sharing your story. And I feel like with Shaklee, it is about the sharing your story. That is what makes it different.
And I think it's about, I guess, maybe sharing enough so that you are comfortable with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, like, if I'm talking and it, like, you catch yourself, you know, if you're like, I'm so, like, either confusing them or starting to sound like whatever I'm saying is going through one ear and out their other ear, you kind of start to realize that. And I feel like that's the way I feel if I go into something and feel like I'm too scripted.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know what? I keep telling myself, like, especially when you go into networking groups and sometimes you're a little intimidated anyway, sometimes, because a lot of times there's 10 other people that got a direct sales business or, you know, something else, or other people that work in the business world. And I keep reminding myself when I go into those things, like, just tell what you do by speaking from your heart. Like, don't try to impress them. Don't try and have like a certain, these tidbits I have to fit into whatever I'm saying, because when I do that is when I fall over myself.
Right.
So if I really just go in and just talk from my heart and talk why I love it and why I do it, and, you know, then I think what it is kind of gets in there anyway. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome.
I'm gonna jump. Drew wants me to tell him good night, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Joan, do you have anything you've said that has helped, or Erin? Oh, are we okay? Oh, look at you, Erin. Now I have to learn how to use this chat. Okay, so Erin just submitted a question. It feels so official. Are we okay comparing our products versus those of other companies? Thinking about the shakes. Okay. Like if someone asks you what the difference is. Okay, so this is what, and I'll be curious to see what April says. This is what I've been told, or I don't know what you want to call it, is always go back to the Shaklee difference, because like I am not versed on, like there are some things, like I know that like Shakeology has a lot of high levels of lead. There's like certain things that I know because I've read about it or I've seen the articles about it. But something that I've said, because I get that question a ton, is I always say, you know what? I am not an expert. I always say I don't product bash other companies, and I don't. I say, but what I do know is that Shaklee, blah, blah, blah. So what I do know is that Shaklee's purity standards are higher than any other purity standards that you will find in the health and wellness world. And I know that because, and then I show them the Shaklee difference. Or what I do know is that our Life Shake has blah, 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 blah. So I always go back to Shaklee because I can speak to Shaklee. And I have that a ton in the beginning, like especially with the Life Shake.
And I get that a lot because they're like, well, yours is more expensive and I can just have this shake and I lose weight. And it's like, well, keep poisoning your body then.
And you know what I say is, and that's where like you can go back to, like I said, I always try and point it back to Shaklee. So like, for example, one of my newest members, they're one of my church friends, they use Relive, which I've never heard of. Now my dad was familiar with it because he said all their vitamins are in powder form, because their philosophy is that in order for the body to absorb, vitamins have to be in powder form, which I thought was really interesting, because then it makes me wonder what is in these. And then, not to mention, the husband had his testosterone levels plummeted when he drank their soy shake. And so now he has this fear of soy because of his experience with that company. And then when he tried to get information, the only way you can get information from that company is by like going through, you can't like, their distributors have like no information. They're told to have a consumer call the company, and then the company, it's like you're constantly on hold. It's not like Shaklee Field Support answers the phone and gets you the information. So anyway, so they had sought me out. We went over there, talked to them, and that came up a lot. Well, like, because my friend is so convinced that the only way the body can absorb vitamins is when they're in powder form. So what I did was I said, I don't know anything about Relive. I said, but what I do know is that Shaklee has the landmark study, which is the only third-party study of its kind. And we have, in the landmark study show, it compares Shaklee supplement users to brand ABCDEFG supplement users to non-supplement users. And I showed, how the biomarkers were significantly better in Shaklee users, which therefore proves that Shaklee vitamins are absorbed by the body and make a difference in our health. So, I just kept going back to, my little people are here. I just kept going back to what I know Shaklee can do as far as how we're different. And then as I was doing that, my friend's husband just started to go berserk about how he was getting frustrated about how he can't get any information from this other company. I just keep my mouth shut because it was almost like the more I shared about Shaklee, I think, and I was just being honest, the more it made him think about the information and the facts and the studies and the abstract articles that he could not get from his current brand. And then a lot of times I'll just say, and Shaklee has the money back guarantee. You could have the product for a month, you could have the product for 3 months, you could have the product for 6 months, and you don't like it or you don't feel a difference, and you just call them and they'll give you your money back, and there's no strings attached. And I sometimes think that it's just kind of okay, so Shaklee is really serious about the quality of their products. And then in the big catalog, a lot of times I'll go back to the research in the back. All those, you have, this guy was all about, he wanted all the research. Some people don't want all the research, but the abstract articles are there that people can at least see that there's something that shows Shaklee. So I always end up going back to Shaklee with that because I don't know anything about the other companies. It's a lot of times when I have those smoothie workshops, that's what I get, but I know this shake does this, but this shake tastes like this, and how is that any different? And, I just try to always say, well, I don't know anything about that company, but I would encourage you to research it, to call them and say, hey, and I have that little those 5 top questions you should ask any supplement company that I could send you to. But sometimes I'll send them and I just try and put it in their court and say, please, ask your company. You should be an informed consumer. Because if there's something better out there than Shaklee, then I want to know about it. So if you can find it, feel free to tell me about it. So I don't know if that answers that question. I feel like I should do sign language. Yes. Okay. So then that kind of goes to this next part, which just that asking questions and listening when people inquire is the key to sharing Shaklee. When someone asks you what is Shaklee and you tell them whatever you feel from your heart you want to share, then just listening to what they say and kind of just stopping. I found that if I stop there, then it kind of makes them curious to ask more. Also, if you don't have Shaklee Connect on your phone, which I think most of you probably do, it's that free app that Shaklee has. And it's a really easy way to literally share Shaklee from the palm of your hand with someone. So there's documents on our Shaklee Connect apps. Do you have that? Yeah, you do. That's right, because we looked at, and you have it, Erin, right? Yeah. And then it's a good way to share already printed materials. So I don't know if the Changing Brands Can Change Your Life brochure is on that. Do you know if that is, April? On the Connect app?
I think it is.
Okay. So that's a good one, Erin, to share too. Because I struggled with a lot of this stuff in the beginning is I gave way too much information. And Erin, you were probably one of those people who got way too much information from me. I would want to answer everyone's question to the decimal point perfectly, and then I realized I don't know everything. And Shaklee has all this information, and people ask me questions like, well, what's the difference between the Life Shake and the Advocare and this and that and this and that? And it's like, all I know is that Shaklee is wonderful, and I have all this information to prove what Shaklee has is what they say that they have, and then I share that. And then, because folks have to read, I mean, people have to like take some initiative for themselves when they ask us those questions.
The brands is great, because
Yeah.
I keep that on a lot of, like, if I'm meeting someone and I know they have questions about Shaklee or a certain product or whatever, I always, if you have that brochure and the catalog, it can do everything for you, and you don't have to memorize anything or any facts or anything. That Changing Brands Can Change Your Life brochure goes through all of the main things. Basically what it shows is this is why Shaklee is different. And then with your catalog, you've got all the product lines, and you've got in the back, you've got, like Stephanie said, all the, what am I trying to say?
The abstracts.
The abstracts and stuff, where it's at. So the proof is some of those are back there. So having those two things is a super easy thing just to take in to a meeting, or just to show someone, because it really does say it all.
And I think I might have that Changing Brands downloaded, so I'll email it too. But I think it is on that Connect app, which is nice to just send to people. And I forget sometimes that I can just send someone something real easily, and it's right there on our phones. So something else that just resonated with Shaklee as a relationship business from the start. It's not about us, it's about them. So it's all about asking and listening, which again goes back to when I started out, like I just wanted to vomit all this information, but I wasn't asking enough questions back. And that's what people want. Like, people want to know that you care about them. And I think I was just going about it I don't want to say wrong, but a way that I've learned from now. Like, now I'm just kind of like a little bit slower and steadier in the beginning. Like, I try to say, okay, well, when someone says, hey, I'm really interested in that Shaklee stuff that you sell, then I'm like, okay, great. So like, tell me, like, what is it that interests you? Where did you hear about it? Is it, and I just try and dig, because then sometimes it comes up like my kids are sick all the time, and I know that like your girls are hardly ever sick. Like, that's probably one of my biggest things that I hear now. And then I just talk from the bottom of my heart, like April says, because it is like kids and immunity are like my big, like, rah, rah. I love it. And it's so easy, especially if you've had any kind of health transformation yourself, or just know someone who's had just something, even if it's just something small change. In fact, I'm going to put my plug in for the Joint Health Complex right now. I was supposed to have major shoulder surgery this morning. And with the combination, I swear, I'm on my second month of that, and some aggressive physical therapy, I am like better than I have been in months. So I know there's tears still in my shoulder, but I am like doing all sorts of movements that I couldn't do. So anyways, okay, so that was my little blurb about that. And then I wanted to go into, because I've had some questions about HealthPrint, and some of the folks who had the questions are not on tonight, but I still think it's a good review. We actually reviewed all this again at the conference, so it was good for everybody. Just using HealthPrint to get leads, and just following up. So Jen, I don't know if you've sent out any HealthPrints or taken the HealthPrint maybe?
I took one, but I haven't sent any out yet.
Okay, so perfect. So this is good, just like, I think this is good for everybody, especially like if you're at that point where you might be sending some out at some point. So then you know what it is. It's that little assessment. So they just reiterated at the conference that the purpose of HealthPrint is that for us to remember that we do not have to be an expert. I think there's a lot of people that think, well, I don't know enough about like health and wellness, and I don't know enough about all these vitamins, and I don't know enough about how the body works, or I don't have any medical background. There's all these stories we tell ourselves. And the reality of it is we don't have to be an expert. There's a reason why Shaklee has some of the top scientists and nutritionists working for the company, because they're doing all the hard work for us, and it's our job is to share what has already been done. And being okay with not knowing everything and being okay with realizing that we have to start somewhere is kind of like the key to using HealthPrint, and really the key to everything about starting your Shaklee business. So they had just reviewed just basic ways to even share the HealthPrint. There are a ton of that I'm just going to show you while I have figured this out. Okay, so there are scripts on our Shaklee logins. Now, I will be honest, I am not a huge fan of the HealthPrint scripts because I feel like I am like reading a script, exactly what it is. But I want to show you where they are because some of them have really good ideas. So under new tools, which is under your login, this is where all the latest and greatest is ever put. So like this is where April and I, if any of you listen to the health chats and think that April and I are like genius health chat like inventors, you're wrong, because they give it all to us right here. We have the script that we use, like it's awesome. So anyways, under here is always going to, just as a quick review, always going to have any of the promotions they're doing, like this, the month, the Strong Women, Healthy Women month theme. So there's a HealthPrint. Here it is. So this talks about, let me find it. Where is it? Well, there it was. Oh, here it is. Sharing HealthPrint. So they give us all sorts of ideas on like how to share HealthPrint. Now, I will say the easiest way I have done it has been like if I'm talking to a friend and they're talking about they want information on Shaklee, or they're having all these health issues, or they want to lose weight or whatever, I usually just say, well, we actually have this really easy personalized health assessment that only takes a few minutes, and if you want, I can send it to you. I don't really think I've ever had anyone say no, but I do think the key is Shaklee likes to talk about permission-based invitations. So saying like, if I, will you, so whatever that is. If I invite you to this health chat, will you check out the link and let me know if you can make it? Or if I send you this quick health assessment, will you fill it out, or will you take a look at it and fill it out, and I'll follow up with you? So I think in today's day and age with like Facebook Messenger and all these in-home parties and all of these events, there's a lot of people that are just like mass, and not just these mass invitations and just throw people in groups. And I know I tend to ignore those because I feel like I'm just another person who's just kind of being thrown into something. So no matter how you word it, I think if you use the if will or if then approach, it's a good one. And then, and I know, like Joan, I know you've sent some out. Erin, I think you sent some out, or I know you had talked to some people. But again, you can check out these scripts and see if anything, if you might like one. Like I said, I just kind of play with it. And a lot of times I'll have already talked to someone in depth, and then I say, hey, do you mind just filling one of these out? Then I have like what we've talked about kind of officially like saved in the Shaklee world. And then if you haven't gotten extra familiar with the HealthPrint, at the end of the HealthPrint, it always gives the recommendations for products. And Shaklee runs different promotions all the time, but hi Emerson. He is awake, huh? But you can actually have people, if they join off of their HealthPrint, off the different packs that Shaklee recommends, a lot of times they'll get like free shipping, or free shipping and free membership and a free product. So it's also good if they just do it, even if you've already talked in detail, so that they can kind of see different options that Shaklee recommends. And then a lot of times what I do is I use that as the discussion tool for saying, okay, like, so this is what, we talked about, you were interested in losing weight. And, sometimes I will talk about what I will recommend, but if there's someone who's really new to Shaklee, then I just kind of say, okay, so, the Shaklee HealthPrint said, to check out like our energizing shake and our Vita E and maybe this and that. And then I just kind of chat randomly, like, so what do you think about this? Or have you ever drank a shake before? Because a lot of people say, well, I'm not a shake person. And then I just kind of talk about, what they are, what kind of person they are. So if it's someone you don't know, it's a good way to just kind of get to know them better. And then again, they talked so much about following up at how do I do this? Oh, they talked about following up so much at this conference. I've always known that following up is huge, but they said that especially with the HealthPrint, because it's really easy to just like send out like a massive amount of HealthPrints or send like a big message to a bunch of people and say like, hey, will you take my HealthPrint? Which might not necessarily be the best way to approach it, but if you're not going to follow up with them, then they just really stress, then don't do that. So the goal with the HealthPrint is to build repetitive customer base and to build relationships. Folks must know that you care about them and you want to build rapport. So if you're going to send a HealthPrint, then you want to make sure you follow up within like the first week. And then, some of the business leaders were just talking about, ways to, when you have that follow-up conversation, saying things like, tell me more about, how you want to have more energy, or just asking a lot of questions before recommending and getting to know them. And I think it's so easy, especially when you're starting out. And even sometimes now for me, like it's easiest to start with your closest friends and family. Though sometimes they are the hardest. But if you have like close friends and family who like, are open to just being your guinea pig, sometimes those people can be some of your first customers too. Like Joan, I know you have Stephanie, Jessica has kind of used Shaklee off and on. She's using more now. And then you have Stephanie who's going to global with us. So it's kind of like, I always think using, friends and family, I guess it's like a combination between guinea pig, but those usually are the people that we care about the most and that we want to be, you want, of course, your friends and family to be healthy and to feel good. So using them as folks to try the HealthPrint on and just say, hey, I'm trying to build my customer base. Do you mind taking this? And just let me know what you think about it. And then you never know. You could have like an aunt or an uncle say, okay, so what is this Shaklee all about? So you never know where a conversation could lead. Just a few other quick things, because I now have a few other things I wanted to cover. I know it's almost 9. Again, focusing on the 3 goals that the HealthPrint identifies and just giving the people good feedback. What I like to say is, so I don't ever ask someone, I learned the hard way. I was asking people, so what did you think about the HealthPrint? And then it would be crickets. Or it would be like, well, I really didn't like that it did this, this, and this. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just setting myself up for like a stab every time. So now what I say when I'm following up is, what did you like best about the HealthPrint? Because then I'm pretty much asking them for something positive to find. And in every time I have had, it's always been something like, well, I thought, it was really interesting, the recommendations they gave, or I always knew that I didn't eat enough vegetables, but I liked how it didn't tell me that I sucked at it. Like I've had a few people say that. I like that the HealthPrint doesn't tell me that I'm just like horrible. And I always say, well, it doesn't, because we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. And it kind of is a good reminder. And I think the HealthPrint is really gentle in the way that it points out what we need to work on and what we do really well at. So I always try to focus on, I say, I don't say like, well, what you're bad at. I'd usually say what we need to work on and where our strengths lie. because I know I've taken it a few times since it first came out, and it's fun to see how it changes. So if you haven't taken it more than once, I suggest trying it and just see what it says. And then they had just talked about, after you give folks a HealthPrint and you kind of review it with them, inviting them to health chats, like any health chat that April and I do, or sharing some of the websites, which that's stuff that April and we can share with you guys again. And they just stressed that HealthPrint can be a really big business builder if we use it to its full capacity, by always keeping in mind someone's budget, mentioning the Shaklee guarantee, and, on our end, making sure that if we're going to send a HealthPrint, being prepared to have that follow-up conversation with them, and, maybe even scheduling a time, whether it's via email or phone or text, to say, like, I want to follow up with you about the HealthPrint, that you just took in the next 4 days. What is a good time for you? And just really getting that follow-up. And they just said, if you're not going to follow up, HealthPrint or not, no matter what it is, don't even start, which was kind of like a wake-up call for me, because there's some days I get really excited about stuff, and then I think, oh gosh, I have to follow up with all these people. So I need to make sure that if I'm going to reach out, that I'm going to be committed to doing the follow-up. And then there was a whole other thing I'll probably go on another time, just about how many times you really have to follow up with somebody. And one of the facts that they said was 60% of the time people say no 4 times to something before they say yes, which I thought I can actually relate to that with some people. I have a new member who I don't like to say like I've been working on her, but she has expressed interest over and over and over again since October of, it might have been like January of 2016. It's been like over a year. And I just, every time, I'm just like, Libby, when you are ready to sit down and talk about it, I'm ready to talk about it with you. And we talk about it, and then she's like, but now's just not a good time. And just 2 months ago, she joined with the Vitalizing Plan, and now she's like, feels amazing, and she's in love with it. So sometimes it's just, and what I did was I followed up with her. It was like once a month for a while, and then I just let her go, and it was like once every other month, and I just happened to hit her at the right time. And she's like, no, now's the time. I've been thinking about you, but thank you for getting a hold of me, because I would have forgotten. So you never know where a follow-up could lead, or what more you can share when you just do any kind of random follow-up. So, which also goes into a whole nother topic of keeping track of following up. In the Shaklee back office, there's ways you can track like members or people you've contacted, but I kind of do it in an old-fashioned way. I have like a little index card thing that I came up with, and then sometimes I just have a list in my planner. And I know, like, Joan and Aaron kind of just starting out, your lists are smaller, so it's a good time to like implement something that works for you, because we all, like, I am a very hands-on, like, that's why I like my index cards, because I have to be like visual and touching and filing and organizing and color coding. Some people would rather log on and like have an Excel sheet. Some people use the Shaklee back office. There's like any way that is good for you. There's no wrong way to do it. And then the last big thing that I wanted to go over was this power hour that they talked about. And we just talked about it really briefly, but it really hit me. I forget who talked about this part, but it's about setting aside 1 hour of proactive time. And what they meant by proactive was where you already know what you're going to be doing. It's not a planning hour, it's a proactive power hour. So being able to set aside an hour, does not have to be an hour a night. It could just be an hour a week for right now, where you're sitting down and you're doing proactive activities to help grow your Shaklee business. So that could be just making a list of people that you want to contact. Or something someone told me once is take one of the full-size product guides and take Post-it notes and go page by page. And when you see a product that reminds you of someone that you know, or you think, oh my gosh, like My friend has horrible allergies, and then you write her name down and you put it by the alfalfa. And it's a good way to review both products and think and like have like little memory joggers as far as people to think of that you might want to share it with. Like there's been times I'll see the kids page with the Incredivites, and then I just start writing down like all my mom friends who have ever like seen my kids take vitamins, or just my mom friends in general who I usually would start out with like people who I know have some sort of interest in being well, because there are some people out there who just don't care. And it's always easier to start with the people that you know who care than to go for the real far stretch ones. So taking that power hour and doing some sort of activity like something like that, or inviting people to health chats, or inviting people to take the HealthPrint, or perhaps following up with any inquiries if you've had people ask you questions, or if you have any members, following up with those members and just saying, hey, how are you doing? How's your Shaklee regimen going? Is there anything I can help you with? You could also use that time to send kind of cold messages to people who you think might be interested. I know, Joan, we've talked about sometimes how to word stuff. It takes practice, but I know we've talked about like, how do you word just sending random messages? And again, sometimes it's just still easier to talk to those folks that you know really well in the beginning. During that proactive planning hour, if preparing an event, so like, for me, it'd be like if Erin or I or Joan or I, or we, if we wanted to do something together, something that we could work on during that time. So again, they talked about using the time to actually do the planning or the activity, which therefore means that another time during the week, it's sitting down to then plan what you're going to do in that hour. And this kind of all came into the whole discussion of the process and the journey. So I haven't done this since I've been back because it's been a little crazy, but what my goal is, like, and last Sunday was Mother's Day and it was nuts, but like this Sunday, I'm going to sit down for like a half hour and I'm going to look at my day planner for next week, and I'm going to plan out when my power hours are going to be and what I'm going to do during each of those power hours for next week. And like I said, for some people, it might be like a power 15 minutes. It could be a power hour for total for the whole week. But it's knowing that like on Tuesday at 7 o'clock at night, I'm going to follow up with those 3 people who filled out a HealthPrint. And then that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to stick to those things. And then it could also be a time where, no, that's right, power hour. Then they had also discussed, keeping separate the time that you're actually working on those business activities, and then doing things like self-development, or like just sitting down and exploring the new tools section. Like planning on Sunday that, okay, if let's say all you have is 45 minutes all week, because I know everyone has different schedules. Let's say on, Monday night, for 30 minutes, I'm going to sit in the new tools section and I'm just going to explore what Shaklee has. I'm going to save some of the stuff to my hard drive. I'm going to make some folders. And then for 15 minutes on Wednesday, I'm going to reach out to these 3 friends who had asked me what Shaklee was like a week ago. So keep the goals so you feel like you can achieve them. So that's another thing that I like to do, is I like to make these like crazy goals where then it's like Thursday and I'm thinking like I've achieved one of like the 10 goals because I've made them so crazy, and I forget that I have 2 kids and a husband and laundry and all this other stuff that I need to do. So keeping those goals to where you will be successful at meeting them was just something else that had kind of resonated in my mind when they had talked about the process and making that process smooth and in a way that you can be successful.
I like it too, Steph, if you don't mind me saying.
No, yeah.
I know at least a big angst for me and for having school-aged children is that, okay, now summer's coming and it's very hard for me to have any focused time, I guess, unless it's at night. And then I know a lot of times night times everyone's tired. So I like the idea of the power hour and planning when you're going to have those. And then like I know last summer, even like I let the boys in and saying, look, you know, we're going to have an awesome, you know, either morning or afternoon. And I would say, but you know, I need, if you can give me this hour, I mean, it's easier for older kids, but you know, let's keep yourself entertained for this hour and then let mommy have this. And then you got me, you know what I mean? Like then you've got me, you've got my attention the rest of the day or whatever, you know, that might be. But then I think, because I think in their head, they're thinking too, because I'm guilty of it, being pulled away from that and getting sucked into my emails and, you know, all of that stuff.
He's getting a snack.
Oh, that's okay. So getting sucked away and then I find myself sitting at my computer and they're up whining, you know, rightly so, an hour later and be like, you said you were going to be right back.
Right.
And so, anywho, but I think I love that idea of the power hour to keep yourself focused. And then also if you do have kids or, you know, you have other distributors that might have kids too, just to give them that idea. And then, you know, whatever it might be for that hour to keep them entertained so you can focus.
And they actually gave us these, like, I don't know if you can see them.
Oh, yeah.
Is it backwards?
No.
Okay. So, and it's like it like reminds me of grade school. Like, it's the most simplest thing ever. But it's, you know, and not everyone has, obviously, again, all the time in the world because people are working and people have kids and people have spouses and people have things they're doing. But it was a good visual of like, what are my goals? And what, you know, and I'm a day planner person. Now I haven't touched my day planner in the last couple weeks because I've kind of been flying by the seat of my pants with like the end of every activity we've been doing is like ending in the next 2 weeks. But I'm going to get back to my day planner, like I said, Sunday. And, you know, most of the stuff is not going to be full of Shaklee stuff, but it's a matter of knowing that, like, you know, from whatever time to whatever time, that's what I'm going to do. And life happens, but if I can stick to it and if I know what I'm going to work on, then the odds are I'm probably going to be more successful at it than if I just, because I do what you were saying, April. And like I would struggle, like I'm struggling a lot up to this time with like, the girls really aren't napping much anymore, mainly because Sophia doesn't nap. So then Lucia, who follows suit, won't nap, even though she's like falling asleep, you know, eating or whatever. So like Derek and I, which was also really interesting about the new directors conference, which I'm kind of going backwards, but Derek, who is not necessarily involved with the business, like the way I'm involved, he left with a different view of what I'm trying to do and how I'm doing it. Like, and he left with a different view of how the business is run from a corporate level. And then like I talk before I think most of the time, and he thinks a lot longer before he talks. But, you know, he even walked away and he said, after this presentation, he said, you know, I think that's what your problem is, pretty much is what he told me, is like, I want to think that I'm going to have nap time every day to do Shaklee work. Well, there's no nap time anymore. Or I want to think that from 2 to 3, when I have the girls have quiet time, that I'm going to have time to do things. And that's just not my reality. And I want it to be. So, you know, like my new thing is Wednesday nights, we had stuff at church we were doing. Well, that's over. So now Wednesday nights, like he's already, I mean, he just did all the kids stuff and he has them, you know, we've kind of come up with this deal where if I want to grow this business and I have to have a few hours that the kids are with him and he wants to do that anyways. But sometimes it's a matter of, you know, getting the other folks involved in the house so that you can have your time. And it isn't always going to be, there's going to be Wednesday nights when they only want me and they don't want him, and it is what it is. But, you know, and again, it looks different for everybody, but I think it's kind of finding that sweet spot because like Joan, I know like you really want to do something with your Shaklee, and I know Erin, you're obviously have all sorts of fun adventures ahead, but I know like you want to do that too. And it's at some point, you know, it's finding how you can fit some time, whether in that time is going to look different for everybody, but fitting that time into your day or into your week, so you can just, even if it's just sitting and brainstorming about things. And I know for like folks, like for Joan and Aaron and for, you know, other people on my team, like I want to try and do some, they talked a lot about 15-minute coaching calls, where like me as your business leader, like we would figure out a time that once a week we would talk for 10 or 15 minutes, and we would each figure out when that time works for both of us. And we're just talking about like any frustrations you have with like trying to get something started, or trying to start a conversation with someone and not knowing what to do, or what worked well for you that week, or what hasn't worked well, or where you need like some more help from me. And that's what we use the 15 minutes for. And they said, you don't talk personal stuff, you talk Shaklee stuff, so that after those 15 minutes, like you as the distributor would feel like you have, you got help from me, or you got encouragement from me, or you got some tips from me on how to help you with whatever it is that you're trying to do that week. Even if it's just like Joan, like following up with one of those people that, because, you know, you kept me up to date with some of those people. Like, even if it's just like, okay, I don't know how to follow up with this person, even if that's all we talk about for 10 minutes. But yeah, so it is all about finding, you know, the time for in the nooks and crannies. And I am really bad at, I'm getting better at it, and April knows this, at like comparing myself to, it is really easy, I think, in the Shaklee world to compare with other folks who have some like really thriving businesses who are in our age bracket. But you don't ever know the full story. And, you know, as far as just time, and we're all in different places in our lives as far as how much time we can commit. And, you know, it's just about finding your little niche and kind of growing from there. Because I sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, April, like how, like, I'm never going to be able to do that. And then I'm like, you know what, like, that's not what it's all about. I mean, that's a perk, but that's not what it's all about. It's about like helping people, and I want to help people the right way. So, so yeah, that's that. And then I had like I had sent the little dream sheets to everybody, and I know we're like past 9, but I don't know if you guys want to unmute yourself, if anyone who did it there's any, I kind of sent this is all in Shaklee University. But again, they gave us the dream sheet there because, like I said, they constantly are focusing on the basics. And they actually gave one to each of us. So Derek had one too. So it was kind of neat to see what what motivates him as someone who has a different role in the business, more as like my support person. Though he is sharing Shaklee, he shares it a little bit more than he used to. It's really kind of fun to watch. But I don't know if does anyone have one of these kind of questions or statements that they filled out that they wanted to share? Like, I know there's like, what motivates me? What does my family need or want? What would I do if time and money were not an issue? Anyone?
Well, I'll answer one.
Okay.
Because I already had this filled out.
And Aaron sent it to me. I feel like I was a professor.
Wasn't I supposed to?
No, but I loved reading it.
Damn it.
Okay, Joan, share.
Okay, so just any of them?
Yeah, what is there like, I mean, you can share whatever you want. Was there something that like, because the purpose of this is just to like get us all to think about like, why are we even interested in this?
So I answer, well, what motivates me? You know, being a nurse, and I'm always thinking about health, and I want to feel the best that I can. So I'm always striving towards optimal health, but I want to help others be able to do that as well. What does my family need or want? I need a work-life balance. I want less stress from work, so I want to be able to do something that Well, my job right now, even though I'm a nurse, I don't take care of patients. I take care of other nurses and and teaching and all of that. So I want to eventually get into something that's less stressful, which is really what I love, because I became a nurse because I love to help people, but I'm really not helping them in the way I wanted to. So that's why when I started using this I've been using the cleaning product for 2 years now. But then when my gynecologist told me that I needed to take a phyto supplement, that's when I went on and ordered those. And so it has made me feel so much better. I started with the Life Strip for a month, and then I added the Life Shake. And so I feel like I am at a place now that I can really share it. And I think I can achieve this work-life balance and really share what I am passionate about, which is feeling good and taking care of yourself. So that's what I had in here.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. That makes me smile. Because that's what I love is like everyone has a different, everyone has like a different reason. Mm-hmm. Different reasons for all of it. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Erin, you had a whole bunch of stuff written down.
That's because I thought you wanted it. And
do you have it in front of you?
I do. I was taking notes on the back of it.
Is there something you want, like, no pressure, but I don't know. You had a lot of good stuff. Is there something that, like, you want to?
I honestly felt like it was really hard to fill out because it made me realize how busy I have been and how I haven't been paying attention to myself.
Oh.
Because I've been putting out a bazillion different fires and
right.
Emerson and Ethan, and now there's baby number 2 on the way, and just like all those different things going on. And then it's, what is my passion? I don't know. I'm lucky that we're all fed by the end of the day and we're all baked. Like,
survival.
That's my passion right now.
But that's life,
Oh, exactly. So then I'm like, well, is there something wrong with me because I do not have passion?
No, not at all.
When I start making the big bucks, I guess then I will become passionate about something because I won't be as busy. So,
but you had something written down, or maybe that was if there was no money, about opening, what was it? Was it opening a childcare or opening a clinic?
I have all these ideas that I'm going to solve the world's problem. The big one, I still do the aphasia support group at the Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they will no longer even take my health insurance now.
Oh, yeah.
I still volunteer. But I would love, we do not have in our area an aphasia center, where there's huge ones in like Florida and on the East Coast and Texas now, for all of those people with aphasia to come and to build their communication skills. Because once insurance ends, usually they never try to follow back up with therapy, and really they're like our walking wounded. You can't tell they had a stroke until they start trying to talk to us. So that's something I've always wanted to do since grad school.
Huh.
But, other things get in the way. And then we have no childcare in Eastern Greene County. I could open a childcare empire over here. And so that's just something else we're already having trouble with baby number 2 on the way. The childcare center where I have Emerson, they may not have an infant slot. That's the only child center in the area, unless we go into Xenia or Beaver Creek or, so it's just like, that's definitely a need in this area, but it also can't be high dollar. It can't be like a Primrose School or something of that nature. But I don't know. So that's another idea. So I have all these ideas that float in my head
but I think that's
I just need more time.
Yeah, well, and it's still like shows what you're interested in, like it all goes back to helping people.
It does.
And thrive and helping people thrive.
Right. And I think that's been my big thing with Shaklee is just, you'd put little things on Facebook every now and again. And then when I became pregnant with Emerson, and just, I have felt so good since then. But I like everything you've shared because I'm really bad at sharing the story. I'll have my shake at school and I'll be drinking it and people will be like, well, what's that? oh, it's the Shaklee protein powder, and that's all I say. So who knows how many potential customers I have lost because I don't say more. So.
Well, let's think of an idea. Okay, because we've all been there. So like, okay, so I'll say something that I do, and then anyone else chime in. So like, I keep like a little mini catalog in my purse at all times, or I keep like a big catalog, because and then a lot of times I usually have like a Shaklee pen that I'm writing with, but I had one friend a week ago say something about Shaklee, and I said, well, I actually have a catalog in my purse. Do you just want it? That was how I said something, because she knew I went on the trip. She knew I was a distributor. But I don't like vomit Shaklee at the mouth to like all my really close friends that I see a lot. So when she said something, that's when I was just like, well, hey, do you want a catalog? And like, we can talk about it. But like, I don't have my shake out in public anymore because I always have it here. Like I'm always home for breakfast. So, but I think typically what I've done, like, well, oh no, because sometimes I'd take it to work. Like when I work on a Saturday, I think a couple times, like Megan Coletti, she uses Shaklee. Yeah. There's a few of them there who do. I think I've just said like, I mean, obviously I don't talk about it a lot because we can't do that at where we work. But I think I've just said, yeah, like this is my Shaklee shake. Have you ever heard about it? Or because I have to keep it very, not a lot of details at work, because then that turns into that whole, like I'm against all of our health streams that we have to take every year, against trying to do something else. But I don't know, April, what do you do? Like, because I know you.
I'll have my bars out.
The bars, yes.
Especially, yeah. And I'll just always tell them, yeah, like they're my lifesaver because I can't eat fast food or whatever because of my celiac disease. So, you know, I'll just be like, yeah, they oftentimes that's what the question I get. And I think I just tell them, if I have their information, I know who they are, I always tell them I'll send them some information on it. And I do if I don't have something in my purse. But yeah, somehow I always get the connection so I can send them information on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that is how I usually will follow it up, because I've had a few friends at the gym who I've given a sample to, and then I've sent them that little Life Shake fact sheet, which has been great now that they have all those fact sheets and the new tools. Those they're beautiful, they're color and black and white, and they have like all of the label information and all of just the factoids about the product. So yeah, that would probably be a way you could do it, Erin. Depending on your comfort level, you say whatever you say, and you say, if you want to hear about it, I could send you information, or what do you have for breakfast? I mean, I guess it's all about what the conversation is, because some people are saying, oh, is that just a breakfast shake? Or, oh, like I need to find something I can eat in the morning because I just feel like crap in the morning, or.
Right. Well, and I think it just speaks to, I've become so buried in work that I am not thinking about others, where it's like, well, I just want to answer your question so I can move on to the next thing I need to do, get out of my way, versus taking that moment to think about that person of, oh, why did they ask me about this? And I like the part where you said, asking them questions. Yeah. Is just, giving them an answer and moving on from there. So, I could say, well, it's this. What do you use for breakfast? Yeah. Or do you use any protein powders or whatever? So. Yeah.
Or and like you said, I mean, you could even say like, well, it's my whatever you said, it's my Shaklee shake or my protein shake or whatever, like what, and then like, it's my lifesaver, kind of like how April says. And then it's just like an open door for someone to be like, well, what do you mean it's your lifesaver? That's been my thing with the energy chews lately. Like I try to go to the gym early in the morning, and I have 2 of those before I go to the gym. And I swear I am like the Energizer Bunny at the gym, like at 6 in the morning. And one of my friends, she's one of my new members now. I gave her one, and she then it got her asking about the supplements, and you never know where, like Joan, for example, where like the Get Clean kit could lead you like 2 years from now. I mean, you never know where like a bottle of Basic H or like a sample of shake or, you know, a kid's vitamin. I mean, that's kind of become my new, I think that's kind of become like my new little go-to. Now, I think Shaklee Corporate probably has a whole another view on like giving samples of things, because it looks kind of, I think they're trying to work on like more official samples. Yeah, because there's so much feedback about like giving like the little druggy Ziploc bag full of powder. You know, I mean, it's not very professional.
Make it as cute as you want, but
Yeah.
it's a Ziploc baggie with powder in it.
Yeah, or like I'm giving people like baggies with like 10 chewable vitamin C in it, and
Sometimes what I'll do is when I empty my other bottles, sometimes I'll just stash them someplace, and then if like my one friend in Cleveland wanted a sample of something, so I printed off in like alfalfa and vitalized immunity. So I printed off the information sheets on the what's new tools. And then I had a couple of bottles. So I dumped what I had in a baggie. I don't care if I have that in a baggie here for my personal use, but then I put their stuff. So it might just be like 10 alfalfa in a big bottle, but then they have the bottle and they have all of that.
that's a good idea.
Really good idea.
You could keep a stash of empty bottles.
Yes.
And then they have the whole, it looks a little more professional.
That's perfect, because they're in my kids' play kitchen downstairs. They usually take them. They play Shaklee.
Right.
But, you know, I think that is probably like kind of going back to the very beginning with like the whole what is Shaklee question. Like I think with a lot of my friends, and as I become more comfortable just like speaking from my heart, I think a lot of times I end up just, and we're all in different situations. Not everyone has like all these, by no means am I saying you should be like depleting your personal stash of vitamins. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, I just happen to be in a situation where I always have like a ton of chewable vitamin C, or we have a ton of shake all the time. So I've kind of hit that point where, and, you know, and I have kids who are taking the kids' vitamins, you know, I'll give a sample or two, or like Joan, when you were over and Stephanie was over, and I just was kind of like,
that for her kids.
yeah, you know, and I've kind of gotten to that point where, like, in my mom has always taught me, and she was going to actually log on, but that might have been her. She was just going to log on and sit there and probably have to fiddle. You never sent me the link. Yes, I did, Mom. Yes, check your email. Anyway, she's always taught me, and I don't know, April, what your mom said, but like to try to, like I try to keep my overhead as small as I can, as far as like, I'm not like giving away like copious amounts of samples all the time, like where I'm handing like bags of Incredivites and like, because it gets expensive. But I pick and choose, you know, like Stephanie, I knew your daughter, I knew she was interested. I'm like, well, I'm going to give her some, because sometimes for a kid, all it takes is them to taste something and they chew it and swallow it. And then the parents like sign me up because I know it's good for them, and they already like it.
Those two boys are so picky about things. So when they both liked it, and they liked the vitamin C, and they liked the DHA, because they're so picky. So she was like, oh my gosh, this is one they're going to take. They won't take over-the-counter ones. They hate Flintstone vitamins. And so when they liked this, she was like, yep, I'm ordering it. So
well, good.
It worked. And you know, and because you gave her one of each, one for each of the boys, and that helped.
Yeah. And you know, like, and I know the shake, I mean, is not like, you don't want to just be throwing Life Shake out to everyone you meet, but like you might want to put a couple druggy Ziploc bags of Life Shake in your purse, Erin, and just have already written on it, you know, like mixed with 8 ounces of milk or your favorite non-dairy beverage and blah, blah, blah. And you just be selective about it, you know, like, because I think that's what I've learned, and it takes time, is I've learned, like, I've had a few people inquire, but then they just kind of drop it. And then I've had like some folks who, we're talking about, like my friends at the gym who I've given the protein samples to, because we've been talking, we're in a health and wellness environment, and then we're talking about things, and then, they're mentioning things about how they're just trying to find something, and then I feel like I'm listening and I don't say anything. Like, I don't start vomiting Shaklee until we kind of start talking, and I'm like, oh, for years I've been drinking this shake, that I just, whatever I say, it depends with everybody. And then I give them a sample. So I think sometimes those samples are, again, you don't want to give away everything, because there are some folks who that's what they choose to do, is it's like constant. And I'm trying to be a little thrifty in that area, but share at the same time, but. Well, it's later than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. So that was kind of just like a bunch of random information that I thought I'd share. So I hope some of it helped. I know it helped me when I reread it. I know one other last little quote they said that I wrote up was, the day you sign up for a marathon, you're not ready to make it to the finish line. You have to train. And don't get stuck in the grind, grow in the grind, which I also really liked. I like all these little quirky little things. And then dreams fuel the plan, but goals fuel the dream. So you have to set goals, set your pace and plan in order to help you reach your dreams. So again, it's like starting out with the small baby steps, planning out what your 45 minutes that you have in that week that you can commit to Shaklee in some form or another, sitting down Saturday or Sunday and figuring out what you're going to do during those 45 minutes is like a good starting point. I mean, and it's very basic and it's very small, but like it can help build to big things. So yeah.
That's really helpful. That's a really good idea.
I mean, and it really helped me. I mean, I was sitting there like I don't do that. I have to do that, because a lot of times in my little, I guess if you want to call them power hours, I feel like half the time I'm sitting there going, okay, what do I need to do now? And that takes me 15 minutes to figure out what I'm going to do now. And then by that time, like I've lost my, if I do that every time, I'm wasting like 3 hours a week figuring out what I'm going to do. When I could just sit down and just really focus, and they don't have to be big mind-blowing things that I'm doing, but if I sit down and it's amazing how many people you can follow up with in a half hour, even if it's just sending emails or making a couple phone calls and leaving messages. I mean, it was a good wake-up call for me on just how for me to focus and what I needed to what I need to focus on. So yeah, I hope it was helpful.
I took a lot of notes. I think it was very helpful.
Good.
Thanks, Dad.
Good. So sorry, my mom's probably going to be arguing with me via text about how I didn't send her the link.
I'm
or
on.
she'll log on and no one will be here. And then
She hears
I'm
you.
on.
You're
Can you hear
on.
me?
Where's your face?
I'm on my desktop because Dad's on the laptop, so I don't have a camera.
Oh, well, we're pretty much done.
I saw that.
We were talking, I was just sharing stuff from the conference, and then we talked about, I don't know, little ways to share Shaklee, and I don't know, do you have any grand, insightful piece of information you want to share on the fly?
Well, since I missed the whole thing, I don't know what you said. But sometimes when you're starting out, I think you get caught up in the details of all the things there are in Shaklee rather than just kind of concentrating on the what's that are the most important things. And I think, like I heard you say, you look at a paper and say, I need to do this, or I got to start doing something. And a lot of times it's just getting the names, getting the people, and making the contact and following up. And follow-up is the key to everything. You can have 1,000 names. If you call them, if you never follow up, they're like getting names, because people getting names actually isn't that hard. It's making that first call.
And many times the people that are very interested in Shaklee don't always say yes the first time, but we get intimidated many times by people who say no. And not that you want to be on them, you know, constantly, but always making a second, you know, if they say, well, this isn't a good time, but maybe next week or something, most people will never make that next week call. It's just, you just have to kind of be persistent, but not bug people. And I think a lot of that is how you come across when you make the call. And not getting caught up in all the paperwork, which there is minimal now, trust me. April's mother can attest to that. We had tons of stuff. It was just busy work when we got started, and we didn't have all the luxuries you guys have today of online like you're doing tonight. That would have been unheard of. And if you either met in person or you had to try to figure out how to do a conference call, which is never quite as effective as this, because even though you can't see me, it is nice to be able to visualize the people you're talking to and be able to get reactions and comments and questions, and just interact as a group. So I don't know that I told you very much, and don't get frustrated and don't think you have to grow. You read about a lot of people who are very successful in Shaklee, and we experienced that too. And we had a good business when we got started. We actually did grow fast, which is relative to what someone else might call fast. Because some people, and you know some of these people, you know, they'll grow real fast. And I always tell people they're either working 24/7 many times, the people that you see doing that, and then if you reevaluate them a year later, they're not always where you think they are. And I'm not saying you can't grow fast. I'm just saying don't get frustrated thinking you have to do a lot of what you see, what you think other people are doing. Because I know you've gotten frustrated by that before. That you, and I keep telling you, you're doing probably better than most people, and then you're picking a few people who are doing like phenomenal in your eyes, but are they really? And maybe they are. But I always tell people, if you want to be like that, you got to be willing to work like that. And people that say it doesn't take time are just not telling you the truth. You have to commit time to it, but you don't have to commit 8 hours a day like you would to a job. So just finding time every day to commit to it.
Yeah, that's good. We were talking about following up.
Yeah,
earlier.
That's the whole key. And then one thing I see in your generation that was very different from our generation is we don't really, and this may sound crude, but when you talk to someone, you don't really care if they're interested or not. You really care if they're going to lead you to someone that's interested, because everybody that we still have today that's a sales leader, we never knew them ever. We never knew them. They came to us through people we talked to who maybe bought a few products here and there, had a couple friends that were interested in something here and there, and then the initial contact just stopped using, but we got all this business through the people that they connected us with. So you never really worry about the person that you're talking to if they're going to be the one that is interested or wants to pursue Shaklee and further than the products. You want to dig deep and create that depth within their little group.
Well, and I think they had talked at the conference, they just said like Shaklee is a relationship business from the start. And I think that like goes with that is like, it's all about like planting that seed. When I can sit and think of some folks who I've talked to and then they've shared it with someone else, and now that someone else is like a consistent customer, and that first person I shared it with, you know, kind of is dabbling in and out, ordering here and there, but it's really that other person who is like on fire about it. I see what you're saying.
Right, and the thing that's so great about Shaklee is it's not like you're trying to, quote, steal people from other people. Anybody can do anything they want in this business. Everybody has the same opportunity. Everybody has the same benefit by bringing people into the business. Some people just choose not to do it. So when you work with people that maybe have been involved, have been introduced to you through, people but you don't know these people now, that can benefit you, and it can benefit that person if they're interested. That's what makes Shaklee such a fair business, because it isn't like the first person at the top always benefits from anything that happens in that organization. You have to be actively doing something and working and pursuing something. You can't just, what a lot of the false pretense out there is what a business like ours is you just get in and you benefit from everything everybody does. No, that's not true at all. You know, it's kind of like I wish that every patient I've ever worked with in my whole life, and I have helped, I never made a penny from them. The doctors all made that money. In Shaklee, you just kind of get a little bit of the piece of the pie, as you're working with people, rather than that one person getting it all. Everybody's sharing in the wealth.
Yeah. Oh. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Now it looks like your time is way over your hour.
We're way over. We're way over. But yeah, but it was fun, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Do you know when we're doing our next one?
Okay, so what if we do like the 31st? Does that work? Not next Wednesday, but the next Wednesday? Or we could...
I can do the 31st.
I can do the 31st.
Okay.
I can.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
Okay. So I had like, yeah, does anyone have something that they want to be talked about on the 31st? Because I have some ideas. But I didn't know if anyone had anything that they were thinking of. Or if you want to...
Maybe they can think about it and
Yeah. And maybe like, I would really be curious. So that gives us 2 weeks. So maybe like we all could do some sort of homework in relation to that power hour. Maybe, and just share by the 31st, like what that has looked like for us in the last 2 weeks. Like if you were able to set aside some time, no matter how long it was or wasn't, and then what you accomplished. And like Erin, I mean, obviously, I know it's crazy end of the school year. You know what I mean? Like if you or Joan, if we want to talk outside of this to try and help with some of that, I can talk to you. Or if you have stuff that you want to do, maybe like on the 31st, we can share how that has helped us. If we felt like it made any kind of difference.
Mm-hmm.
What we accomplished.
The Connect app was a big aha moment for me. I think April had mentioned it to me, but while I was sitting here, I looked it up and already set up a friend of mine that I knew I needed to follow up with. So that was really helpful. I'd be like, I didn't realize that was so easy to do.
Yeah,
so
and I forget about it
from my phone, and I'm crazy busy, not at home. I'm running around all the time. And I'm getting more involved in the school where I can stand right there and say, what's your email address? Or, we're already Facebook friends. Do you mind if I send you a link about what we just talked about and follow up? That's going to be a big one for me to see if I can use that with all the other busy moms that I'm around for the next 2 weeks as we're getting ready for school to end.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome, good.
So maybe on the 31st, why don't we talk about how we've implemented a power hour or two, or however we've chosen to implement it. And then maybe we should all like, something like, I don't know, something else that we talked about today. Maybe we change something, the way we're doing something. So like for you, Jen, you said you've already implemented the Shaklee Connect app. So maybe it's you talking about like how you've used it even more in the last 2 weeks or something. I don't know. Everyone pick something that maybe we talked about and just report back on something you've tried that's new and different. Because I know I haven't really used, the app is right there, but like I even haven't really used it recently because I forget about it. And it's so easy. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. If you start using it, you'll start remembering it more. So,
yeah.
Awesome. All right, so we will do the 31st. Do you guys do you want to keep it at 8? And this time we'll try to do it like a lot shorter, or do we want to do a 7:30, or do we want to do 8:30, or what? Is 8 good?
Anytime 8 or later is good for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Well, yay. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for inviting me, April.
Yeah.
And stay on me, okay? I'm not ignoring you. I'm just crazy. So
I know you're
I know
crazy.
you're checking in on me, and I've been bad about getting back to you. You're on my mind. I just haven't had enough hours in the day, but I'm glad that you invited me to this, and I was able to get on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay, everybody.
All right,
All
guys.
right.
Good night and a good rest of your week.
Bye.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, everybody. Joan and Aaron, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Talk
Okay,
to you
let's
later.
follow up like tomorrow, maybe.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
All right,
Sounds
bye.
good.
Steph, I'm going to call you.
Okay, bye.
Can I call you?